IVM.
Hi Tash.
Hello Ayushi.
And welcome everyone
to yet another episode of Agla Station
Adulthood.
We're back.
Have you noticed how I didn't say guys? I said everyone.
Hello everyone. Beautiful.
I'm improving. I'm
Ayushi
learning.
is a fast learner.
I have to make up for some other mistakes that I've made. Snuck and snook and tids.
Tidbits. We have all made mistakes, Ayushi. That's what makes us human, actually.
Yes. And if this podcast is anything, it is just a reflection of the human experience.
Yes.
As viewed through our eyes.
And again, we would like to reiterate, we're not experts on absolutely anything.
I don't think that we need to specify it anymore. It should have come across in the last couple of episodes.
Yeah, and
we're
despite that, we're just thrilled that we're getting a good response. So Ayushi and I are sometimes ourselves surprised when we hear nice things about Agla Station Adulthood.
And when we see that people are tuning in and listening, and though the last episode we recorded is more up that alley, we actually have a topic this week. Last week we were just talking about how excited and how much we love this, and I'm not plugging that episode properly.
No. But please sunna, if you have come here and if you've skipped After Hours with Kavita, you must go back and listen to that episode.
Yes. Oh, and another thing, we had an episode that came out a couple weeks ago. I don't know when this one is going to, but whatever, a couple of weeks ago, it was called Girlhood.
Yes.
I really, really hope that people weren't sort of misled by the title. I had a couple of friends who texted me saying that initially they thought it was just going to be about boys and dating and some distorted version of feminism, but it isn't. I think it's a very important episode. They all heard it, and after they heard it, they said, wow, it was so different from what I expected, and it made me so happy that you guys covered these topics. So please give that episode a chance. Don't just write it off. It's very special.
She is blushing while saying all this.
नहीं, वो तो मेरा makeup है.
ओहो, तो सुंदरी आप आज बताओगे हमें और हमारे दर्शकों को कि आज का टॉपिक क्या है? Which topic will we tickle today?
So the topic that tickled me, and well, it didn't tickle me, but what we are going to discuss today is community.
Nice. I think that's a good one. Abhi to it's end of year. Festivals have been on and on. It's been major festive season.
We are recording this before Diwali.
3 days before Diwali, a couple days out of Navratri and Dashera, and a lot has been going on in general.
Right.
So it's been festive. Ganpati also was, I don't know, there's just been a lot of festivals.
It's the end of the year. The Hindu calendar gets it's chock-a-block.
Chock-a-block is the word, Ayushi. You're absolutely right. So this time of year forces us to reflect on the idea of community.
And we do think that the topics of community and maybe religion and faith kind of go together.
Yes and no.
There's some overlap.
Overlaps are there. Yeah.
But what we've decided to do is this episode is going to be centered around just community. It's not really focused on any one specific aspect of it.
Yeah.
It's just the overarching. So what we did some episodes ago is also the signposting.
Exactly, which is
I would
why,
like to do.
Yeah, I think we should tell our listeners what we have in store for them.
Right. So we are going to obviously quickly, just how in a school essay, pehle give the definition.
Introduction, body, and conclusion.
So we will give our definition of what community is, then sort of go into what community means to the both of us, individually and together, because we have shared history and a shared present. And then kind of, as per usual, I read some articles.
Exactly. So Ayushi is going to put forward some thoughts and we are going to just free roll on those. And then, dekhte, itna bhi bahut hai. It's a teaser. I think that's enough.
I'm very hungry today. So my community analogies earlier were very food related. I apologize preemptively. Okay.
Definition se start karte hain, kyunki I want to know. Like,
it's a very basic definition, not like Oxford or anything like that. It's just essentially a community is a social unit, right?
Right.
And we said that the social unit either shares the following, but not limited to. So, common norms, perhaps religion, value, customs, identity, activity, a practice, these different things. It's not limited to this, of course, but it's basically a unit based around one of these tenets, or multiple, but at least one.
Yeah.
So a lot of studies and scholarly articles say that communities usually have common goals, or they have a shared history. And those could be the formation blocks of a community, either or of these, ends of these spectrums, like something brought them together, or they are working towards something.
Yeah.
However, as this young adult phase, this middle adult phase that
Baby adult.
Yes, baby adult, right, that we're talking about. I think our communities are a lot more diverse than just the ones based on, say, religion or like
customs
activism
and,
or customs or social norms. Yeah, I think we have...
Especially in an urban setting now, it's very like... Just take ourselves, for example. Like, what are our various communities? Like,
but you know what you just said, this urban thing. There are studies that say community shouldn't be based on these aspects. It should be based on urban, suburban, and rural.
Means?
That there are specific communities that happen in urban areas,
right,
suburban, and then in rural areas.
That totally makes sense.
It does. So again, even while researching and kind of reading into this, you realize that there's no one solid definition or bracket that you could put community in.
Community is sort of an idea. It's a cloud which encompasses a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And by cloud, let's talk, it's like the virtual cloud.
The cloud, exactly.
So there's so much that you can just keep putting into this cloud,
exactly.
And it kind of records it and holds it. And anyway, I think we're talking very big analogies and free-flowing.
बहुत सुंदर है ये भी.
What does community mean to you, Tash?
Community, this only. No, I feel so. I also I want to say I read one something before this episode. Unlike Ayushi, who has read many things, I read one something, and उसमें लिखा था कि this girl has had one lovely community experience, and she used the words that she left feeling nourished and delighted.
Tash has been holding on to these two words. Huh? She really wanted to get into them.
Like मुंह में पानी आ गया.
Please, I can't talk about
food. Ayushi is dying right now. No, but मेरा वो मतलब नहीं था. I mean, and that couldn't have defined better what a community feels to me.
To you, right?
So मेरा community, I can say, starts with family, of course, because that's the first.
That is the first community we all know.
Exactly. So there's one thing where, of course, if you've had a what is deemed a good normal childhood, then you have received that feeling of nourishment and delight.
Support.
Exactly. Yeah. Support is a very key aspect also. So that is there. Then school, of course, there's one community over there, and then there's college. And then when you get into your profession now, even within my work as an actor, there are various communities that are overlapping for me also.
Your theatre community.
Exactly. So there's the theatre community. There's the podcast community now, which is pretty wild, which now you and I get to overlap in this community too, as opposed to just our school friend community.
And it doesn't just mean you and I. It means everyone here that creates a podcast who works in this sphere.
Yeah.
I told you, right? I was at a Diwali party, a pre-Diwali party, and this girl I'm saying, Natasha, she has a podcast on this network called Boundless.
Yes.
And you guys should listen. She comes up to me and she says, oh my God, hi. And we don't know each other very well, but initially she started the conversation by saying, oh, I'd love to talk about podcasts and how's it going? And immediately that became oh, this is another shared experience that we have. And it is a part of that community.
Of course. This it's that word
activity.
Kavita uses, ecosystem. I think the word ecosystem and community go really well together.
Right.
They are complementary words. Ayushi is getting a call from her mother.
No, it's Ash.
Oh no, now it's Ash now. Well, you are getting calls back to back. Ayushi, I don't know what to do with you.
I'm not answering them. You're the ones I'm
getting distracted. It's in my eye line. Anyway.
I apologize.
Where were we? Oh, Ayushi has whacked the mic with her teacup. Friends, she is very hungry and has lost bearings, it seems. एक side पे phone बज रहा है, एक side पे headphones.
It's also been a full day today that we're recording.
We're recording in the evening after a day of work. Yes, indeed. So community Get back to community. Ayushi, you have a sip of your tea. Let me chat for 1 minute.
Please go ahead.
So community to is now that. Na? So I have these various communities at this point in my life. There's theatre, there's podcast, there's this whole thing of like an Instagram community also now, which is another thing you get to be a part of.
Social media is a whole new ball game altogether.
And there are many, and I just want to say that one thing has been great about that for me personally. Just social media has had that benefit to like just be able to connect with like really awesome girls and really cool artists in the world and in like the city.
See, I think social media is actually a decent example of the benefits and the negative outcomes of a community.
Great. So we'll hold on to that then.
We're going to circle back to that.
Yeah.
Let's just pretend that we had this idea the whole time.
Way back when. Yeah.
But going back to your communities, your family, your friends, your
work-related
ones,
stuff,
your creative outlets, your social media ones.
And then on top of this, my parents have also signed me up for yoga community since age 16. So there is like, so my family is into this. We go to the Isha Yoga Center and we're fans. Okay, so like that is one other aspect of a spiritual community, if you will.
Right.
So kafi communities are at play. And I have to say that I do leave feeling nourished and delighted.
And each one of them
fulfills a different
need in your life.
Absolutely, 100%. So that I don't think there is one size fits all. Like एक जगह में आपको सब कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला. I don't think so.
But that's the evolution, Tash. That's how I would say that's more of a 21st century thing in terms of having multiple communities to fulfill you as opposed to what it used to be initially.
Maybe that's a good one. Interesting.
I'm thinking out loud is initially when you had community, think about it. It was based around what? You had your family one, but then mainly it was kind of religion.
Or activity, like the hunters and the gatherers. The hunters were one community.
Yeah, okay, so you've gone one step...
even back.
Even further. You've gone prehistoric. I was thinking more like the Vedas time.
Right.
And if we're keeping it kind of India-focused, what your religion was, that faith was, the style of living, whichever one. I don't want to take any names. Let's not get into... Whichever your religion or that community was, a lot of your activities were based in that. You educated yourself through the religious text, so that was where you came. Religion also told you how what your diet should be for certain times or certain, whatever it is. It also told you what your role should be towards your family and your obligations.
Yeah, and towards society also.
And the community around you, like quote unquote, that one, the group of people living around your huts. So all of that and all your fulfillment, also your festivals, so your enjoyment aspect, your celebration aspect, it all came from one central point, which was, I think, faith-based.
Yeah, fair.
That lifestyle was very faith-based. Now, we just have more to do. Like people back then used to just sit by the river. Like they dress up and then they just go to the river.
Now we're sitting there dressed up taking selfies.
But
not much has changed, We can just share that moment.
What I'm trying to say is that we have way more facets in our everyday life now.
Of course.
You have your profession, you have a passion, you have your workout, you have your
me time, you have your family time.
Everything.
There's like a zillion things.
So all of these are communities.
Yeah.
And that's why I think perhaps it's what leads to clashes between communities is because we have so many and a lot of times they are directly conflicting with each other. Say if you come from an Orthodox family, that's in direct conflict with this urban community that you share with the city around you or the modern aspects of your life.
Which is interesting also, no? Because Ayushi, within one community, there will be 2, 3, 4 communities in the sense of this mindset and outlook.
It could be age-based. It could be geographic-based. Like if you have a community of... what's a good example? I'm just thinking
I
food.
will say one, same. I have a personal food-related one only. Like all people assume that all Gujaratis are vegetarian. But from my childhood, I've grown up in some community, which is a community of Gujaratis from Surat and a few neighboring towns, which are like meat eaters forever.
And in direct opposition to that, I come from a Gujarati community that's by and large vegetarian. But the community of my family unit that I grew up in was never vegetarian.
Correct. So within that, there is...
So I have that thing where when I meet other people that are from this Patel community who are like, oh, but you eat meat? I'm like, yeah. So I immediately feel slightly alienated from them.
Despite having the same overarching community.
I guess shared past.
Past.
I wouldn't call them, because I don't necessarily identify with a lot of features or...
you don't relate to it.
A lot of it.
That's the simple...
But that's because my idea of being a Gujarati and that entrance to that community is again very different.
Right. No,
it's based on my immediate experience, which is related to by my family and my grandparents, who did not prescribe to a very orthodox mentality ever. Not that there's anything wrong or right with that, but that's just not how it went. So I do feel alienated from that particular aspect of the community. What you're saying about everyone thinks that we only eat thepla, fafda.
Actually not. Now you know. My entire community meat khati hai.
It's really sad, but there was thepla in my tiffin today.
Oh my God. Which tiffin was this?
Breakfast. I had theplas for breakfast.
Nice. Ayushi, what a player.
They're without methi, you know. I am considerate of my fellow co-workers around me.
As a side note, methi is so good for health, but what it does is flushes the toxins out of your bloodstream, hence it comes out of your sweat and susu, and it just stanks up your whole life. If you eat methi, you go smell, which sucks sometimes. But it's so good for health.
Choked on my tea.
Back to our main topic, Ayushi.
Right.
Fenugreek was a good aside.
What were we saying? Why did we bring up the example?
Because we were saying that I said that within one community there can exist many different communities also.
Yes, of course. And I think a community can evolve and it can constantly change and update itself.
Yeah.
It would be great if some of the larger ones that exist in the world would keep up with the times, update their texts, just, be a little more relaxed. You know what I'm saying? However, that's not the case. But imagine certain factions of overarching larger communities have kind of broken off, created smaller ones and evolved or adapted to what's around them and what the time that we live in. And that's been happening since generations, millennia. And I guess that also ties into the aspect of human evolution in general. Like, you have to keep evolving, you have to keep changing, you have to keep improving.
Yeah.
The next.
Correct.
What is next? Yeah. But having described all of this and how communities change and evolve and what they are, what's a community that you really, really hold on to? Like, one that is non-negotiable to you?
I would have to say the community of people who love you and support you, which is now I'm trying to incorporate different communities into this large umbrella because that is a whole community of people who love Rytasha unconditionally. That's my tribe. So isme hai mummy, papa, sister, dadi, dada, Ayushi,
and 70,000 Instagram followers.
No. Matlab, I'm talking about the ekdam, all of you Instagram followers. I love you all. Aap ho mere community mein. But that's what I meant. Yeah, my 1,000 true fans.
Your 1,000 true fans.
Yeah.
So for you, it's more about the people that love and support you.
Correct. Very selfish.
Okay.
What about you?
I think it's not going to be original. I was trying to think of an opposite just to have some.
No, I would like to love and support them also because ऐसे कैसे चलता है कि एक तरफ से ही मिलता है और कोई दूसरा देगा. Like you have to.
My most important community would obviously, I think, would be my family. Like my immediate unit of my parents and my brother.
Yeah.
They would be the people because that's an unconditional community where the acceptance is they have to accept me.
See, that was my first thought also. But Ayushi, I now consider you family. Which is why...
See, no, Tash, that's different. there is some difference. There is... No, now she's looking very upset. You are my family. You're definitely my family.
I'm going to throw this coffee at you. Steve.
You are my family. I take that back. What I meant was...
I understand.
That
there is your birth parents.
It's a blood bond.
Blood relation. I understand. Maybe mom, dad or behan sabse important hai.
Exactly. Of course, there are certain friendships that, or certain relationships that are also unconditional, like your spouse or your child, because that furthers your community, right? Like that takes it to the next level. So those are, I'm sure, will eventually be a part of this exclusive little group of people that unconditionally support you. But I think what I was trying to say is that I don't include, say, all friends or social media, all these things into it, only because I know that that's very temporary. I know that it's fleeting in the way that it can go away. And as we've grown, we have lost and collected friends.
Oh, yeah.
So that community of friends does evolve. As we have grown, we have different professions and different passions and different ways that we enjoy ourselves. So that's also changed. The only community that's actually been very steady and stable has been these three.
Got it.
That's kind of what I meant.
You elucidated this point very clearly.
Have I defended myself?
I fully relate because it's the same thing.
Right.
But it's just not, I feel, like it's non-negotiable. Like family though is always going to have your back. That is the non-negotiable. Like there's no way that they're not going to have your back. But which is why I also want like my other, like ye teen to hai. Chalo abhi.
So she's just needy, is what she is.
Yeah, but...
so, okay.
You...
Yes.
Sorry, am I breaking your thought? Because you had said something about the time of the Vedas. And I just had that thought again.
I was talking about the time of the Vedas in terms of there was not much to do. There were lesser communities back then. However, in terms of the word Veda, it leads me to the next thing, which was I happened to listen to a podcast by the Vedanta Foundation. That is neither here nor there. Some parts of it I didn't agree, whatever. But one thing that I liked, because the topic of this podcast was community. And whoever the speaker was, he covered three things which I think you can accept, regardless of the source of this thing, is that from a community you gain. So you gain support. Now, whether that support is financial, whether it's medical, whether it's emotional, mental, whether it's material in any way, that's different, but it's support. So that you get.
Yeah.
Then in a community, you give.
Of course.
Because human beings have an innate desire to help, to heal, to create that fulfillment through being thanked. Or like somebody feeling grateful towards you, someone beholden to you, that is a nice feeling. We want that.
It's that episode of Friends where Phoebe says that she tries to prove that there is no selfless good deed.
Yeah, so this community, right? The first one is you give. No, sorry, you gain.
Yeah.
Then he says that you give. And then the last is you learn.
Love this. I love this one.
This one, yeah. Because from a community, you are constantly learning, whether it's through... formalized like in an education way, or even if it's just experiential learning, you are constantly absorbing and retaining and learning, and that creates human development.
Beautiful. Learning, though, I 100% agree.
I liked these three. I think that that kind of summed up the experience of a community for me.
Great.
Now, in terms of the importance of a community, I think we've it's more like, you know how when we were younger, at least my parents once used to tell me that, there's a reason why Indians used to have joint families. There's a reason why you lived with your in-laws or your extended family.
It's that whole phrase, it takes a village.
Right. And this opposite idea of in the West of, oh no, they don't live with anyone. They live nuclear family, which is like mom, dad, kid.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that is my family. So I don't know what my parents were saying. However... what I was trying to say is that today, in our desperation and our sort of search for that Western ideal of being nuclear, of being independent, of being kind of solitary, we've become too solitary.
But that's where I want to disagree and say that role which the joint family or the religious community or your geographical community was fulfilling.
By the way, I'm not saying live in a joint family.
No,
I'm just saying
it was a thing.
It was a thing.
And it had its reasons. Like even sociologically, I'm sure that there are reasons why there are benefits to living in a joint family. And but now when people are, say, living a more independent lifestyle, they are fulfilling their community needs in other ways. Not me, I'm saying hypothetical person has joined a running club. Hypothetical person goes to poetry readings every month.
Right.
Hypothetical person goes on treks every 2 months.
So that's what I'm saying. Communities have evolved.
Yeah.
What that meaning was, it has evolved. It's not just your family or your religion or your faith. That is the evolution of it. I, however, think that, and I think I don't know when this episode is going to come out, but we talked about it when we were talking to
this is right after mental health.
Right. Yeah. So when we did our mental health episode, one of the topics that we were coming up with was urban people who come from other cities to live in in bigger cities, their propensity to get to deal with certain mental health issues is higher because they live very solitary, isolated lives.
And that support is lacking.
Yes.
Word.
That's where the benefits of a community come in, because it provides that safety net underneath you. And there are various ways, like you said, a running club, poetry slam, whatever it is.
I mean, it can even be an online thing. It doesn't even have to, you don't have to physically go. But
there is something good about having a tangible community experience.
Sahi hai.
You go and interact people face to face, guys.
But even Ayushi, people. Ayushi, but Ayushi, why am I tripping on your name? I'm just tripping on my words. Anyway, but I'm saying on a blog post, for example, okay, I'm just giving one, there's a troubled person who has written a blog post. 50 other troubled people have commented on it. Helping each other, growing, learning, giving, taking. There again, now in that small thing, there is a community.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole stan culture, right?
Huh?
Like how you have people that's you're talking about people who are upset. Now,
not just necessarily people who are upset, but basically...
Are you talking about online support like Marvel? The community of people that watch Marvel movies.
Exactly.
Now the people, it's a global community.
It's insane.
Language is a huge barrier. Time difference is a barrier. Age is this. It's so varied. However, when a Marvel movie comes out, people lose their mind. You start talking to people about Marvel, you suddenly think oh my God, he has the same experiences and opinions as me. Do I like this person? You're like, no, you like Captain America. You've gotten misled. However, so I agree that there is a lot of, you can have an online community and it can really help. It can make the experience of that, common factor a lot better to go together with so many people. Why do people in the theater, when they go to watch these movies, even though they don't know each other, they have this group experience?
Yeah.
Where everyone's really hyped up and it's clapping and this and that.
It's that community air, that community vibe.
It is. And those movies are a community. It's a fandom, whatever you want to call it. And so there are these little subsects. I said subsects.
Sorry, I'm coughing. Subsects.
Yeah.
Is what she meant, huh? Not some substitute sex.
What would subsex mean?
Like, you have a sub.
I was thinking Hindi, like subsex. Everything is sex.
Oh, or like a Subway.
A sandwich?
Yeah, but I don't know, man. There's no product placement going on.
Who knows, man? There could be communities for this also.
Can you talk about the subsects?
I lost my train of thought.
Okay, on that note, then we'll take one chotu break. Now we'll come back when you've gathered your train.
Yeah, perhaps I can find some snack. We'll be back.
See you in a hot second.
Hi everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, I really don't know what to tell you at this point in time. I mean, I'm so disappointed in you. Please go follow us. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So this week on Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by Ramya Ramamurthy and Varun Deshpande of the Good Food Institute. They explain what plant-based meat is, what will be the next food revolution, and the objective behind their podcast, Feeding 10 Billion. That's not all you're going to see of Ramya this week. Ramya is also on the Paperback Podcast with Rachita and Satyajit. She discusses her book Rebuild and points out how brands have tackled situation of crisis. Guys, we have some really exciting news this week too. Our show, Advertising is Dead, has reached 50 episodes. This special occasion was marked with a live recording at the Glitch office. We had some really great guests for this episode as well. Rohan Joshi, the comedian, was there, as was actor, social media influencer, and co-host of Agla Station Adulthood, Rytasha Rathore. The episode drops on Tuesday, November 5th. Make sure you check it out. On our Kannada podcast, Thale Harate, Pawan and Surya sit down to talk about how Karnataka must think about its future so that the state can deliver prosperity and well-being to all its residents. On Simplified, the gang is back for part 4 of the 150th episode. That's a long 150th episode they got going there. Join Chuck and Naren as they break down the dying question of why is Sion called Shiv, the Easter Islands, Instagram influencer ecosystems, and a whole lot more. On Mr. and Mrs. Binge Watch, Janice and Anirudh continue their teen drama series, and this time they're talking about The Politician and Dear White People. Is John McClane the essential everyman, or is he a goddamn all-American hero? On the Geek Fruit podcast, Tejas is joined by friend and roommate Abhimanyu as they discuss the Die Hard franchise. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
Welcome back, friends.
Welcome back, peoples.
Everyone, human beings and pets listening, plants listening, everyone listening.
Ventriloquism.
A little shout out to Naveen and Sumukhi. Ayushi, in our break, we just thought about the mosquito sketch from Go Straight, Take Left, and we lolled. We couldn't handle it.
As someone who just came out from dengue, I hate mosquito. I should hate them, but the way Sumukhi played that fly/mosquito, I just.
Hats off
to you, man.
So we have a little fandom of our own here. The Marvel fandom alag, और ये है Naveen Sumukhi ki fandom. Which brings me to a point, Ayushi, because I'm tying this back to community.
Well done. It's never you doing this. I'm so proud of you.
Ayushi's had a long day, so I'm being a little more alert than usual.
Yes.
In सबका common thing is interest. ये Marvel के लोग ले लो. So interest is their binding factor,
But see,
right?
that's a type of community.
Right. वही तो मैं पूछ रही हूँ.
There are, Dash. Nicely done. You have brought me back to, I think one of the things I wanted to cover earlier were the types of community. Now, again, this is from some article. I will say, listeners in general, if any of you are ever interested in reading any of the things that I talk about, which is rare, let me know. I have them. I can send them to you.
Yeah. And alternatively, if you have some interesting articles that you want to share with us, please, me also. I mean, Ayushi will read and I'll ask her for the speed version. Yeah,
I have a subscription to most of the major periodicals. So please don't worry. Send it to me. Wow, that was not necessary to tell people. It was a weird educational humble brag. Like, I'm so smart that I subscribe to everything.
And you're making more of a brag of it by saying it's a brag. Can you talk about the types of community? Instead of tooting your own horn.
Toot. All right. The first is interest. So I think there are 5 types of community. So first is interest. So that's either based on, like you said, a common interest or passion.
Yeah.
The second is an action-based community. So they are committed to bringing about some change. Then there's a place-based community. So that's by a geographic boundary that kind of keeps certain things in. So it's defined by that. Then there's a practice-based community. So it's either your type of profession or similar activities that they indulge in. And then there is a circumstance-based community. So that's either they've been brought together because of an event or a situation that has kind of forced these group of people to come together. We had a very stupid analogy for this, so we're not going to go into it. But most of the communities that you can identify in your life would probably fall under these 5 brackets: interest, action, place, practice, circumstance.
Nice.
They're all valid. I don't think anyone is more important than the other. I do think, however, that while we're saying all these good things about a community and the support it gives you mentally, physically, materially, there are a lot of dangerous aspects of a community.
हाँ, मतलब community बोलो तो मतलब खतरा भी है.
Communal. Violence.
बहुत सारी चीजें. A deep breath before we venture into...
It's not that deep. It just comes down to... you have to recognize when the community is becoming detrimental.
Right.
Or your membership in a community is becoming detrimental to yourself. Or the people all the people around you. When you're in a community... Aha! This is what I wanted to say. And I was thinking about it in the car this morning. a community that we have an unsaid membership to is the community of society. And we are bound to each other even though we don't formalize it. I don't tell everyone next to me in traffic saying, oh, you and I are part of this community. But we are.
Correct.
And it's sort of a tacit agreement in the sense that when you and I both agree to follow traffic rules, we're doing it for the good of the community around us. And yes, there is a better way. There might be a shorter or faster way to get from point A to B. But because I'm part of this community and because there's this agreement that I have, we will go the longer way, because actually by going the longer way and everyone going that way, everyone is going to reach faster because there's no chaos.
Beautiful, you have said. Ayushi has spoken like a true Sajjan Nagrik.
And I want everyone who listens to this podcast to take one thing away. Is that I don't care what your other periphery interests are. You could be into frisbees. You could be into like dumplings. It doesn't matter to me. But this one of being part of a society around you, the city around you or the village around you or the tier 2 city around you, it is your fundamental obligation, nay, duty. To be respectful to this community, because we've not said it to each other. We haven't made any contract. You don't speak to every member of this community, and you possibly don't even agree on like 80% of the things that the other people think.
Tell me about it. I'm having some thoughts right now of my everyday community when I have to travel from Mud Island on the boat to Warsaw. I spend a good half an hour every day with this community. And it's, of course, unspoken, but we are a community.
Exactly.
And it's basic decency ki don't push each other.
But you're not talking about pushing each other. I'm saying, like, follow the laws and the rules. Don't litter. Don't break traffic lights. You know, I'm talking about very basic human things of if you're living in the city, if you're living in the society, in this community, you have to abide by certain rules.
Niyamon ka to palan karna padega. In the sense ki as long as like it has to, society has to run smoothly.
There was this. I had read something that made me think. We're going to keep calling them articles. Is that you have to give up something to gain from a community.
You reckon?
That it was a theory that was posited that when you to really gain from something, you have to give up something, some level.
Okay.
It's kind of that concept of you know why? This was on the privacy debate. It was it was discussing the privacy debate, like in America, how they were really riled up a couple years ago and still are about the NSA tapping their phones and reading their emails and kind of this ultra surveillance big brother thing. And a lot of the argument for it, oh dear, I have taken away the wrong message from this article, I think. But what it said was, you have to give up a certain amount of privacy to enjoy the benefits of security. You understand what I'm saying?
That
the community as whole, as like the city
needs
of
to be
New
secure.
York,
Correct.
Needs to be secure, right?
So
from global
everyone
threat.
has to sacrifice like
1% of this right to privacy.
See, in theory, गलत नहीं है. फिर वो कितनी privacy invade हो रही है उस पे depend.
So the discussion was actually based on the level of sacrifice or what you have to give up to gain what.
Okay.
Now those two things were not commensurate. They weren't balancing out, which caused the entire debate in the first place.
But I have a question related to this topic only. Say you are giving up like something as small or as big as your time. Does that count? Like to be part of a community, you are not sacrificing, but you are investing.
Yes.
Can we look at it that way instead?
Of course. That is giving something up. That is putting into the pot to take out of it. That's kind of what I'm talking about, is that you have to put something in to be able to take out. The good thing about a community when they function well and they function in this holistic and supportive fashion is that you put in very little, but you get a lot more out of it. So it makes the investment worth it. Like you showing up for events and showing up for meetings is that small thing, but what you get out of that is that support, is the financial help. Like tomorrow your house burns down, people will come and give you food. Like, you know, what you gain is a lot more than what you usually have to give.
Yeah.
I think when that starts the balance starts moving is when you have to be like, aha, maybe this community is not for me, or it's not where I align anymore. And that's fine. That's a change.
Right. And what are some of the other
these all come under the negative aspects, right? The drawbacks of a community. I think the main one is that it creates this idea of the other.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. Main issue with the...
And also when people... It's community when they think that, oh, okay, this is the right community, or this is the only way it should be, or having that rigidity.
The us and them.
Yeah.
It creates the us and them.
Yeah, that's not a nice one. Yeah.
I think we have enough examples in our everyday media and news all over the world.
We don't need to
elucidate this. You know it. We know the othering is happening on a constant basis. The important thing is that, look, it would be wrong to say that the original aim or that maqsad of the community, like why it came together, is wrong because of certain members interpreting it in a certain way. Am I talking too vaguely? Should I just say certain things or no? Did you not understand?
I understood.
You understood.
I understood.
So it's exclusionary. That's the problem, right? That when you're in a certain group, when you're in a certain community, automatically other people aren't.
Yeah.
And either you think that you are better than them in some way because you are a part of this group, or you think that the other is lesser than you. And by the way, those are two very different things. Thinking you're better than someone and thinking someone is lesser than you is very different. So I think
the caste system did this only, community based on this kind of us and them only for so long, actually.
Yeah, and it still pervades us.
Yeah.
Why the whole community of men decided that the community of women are just not equal.
Us and them.
Imagine 50% of your population decided that the other 50% is just arbitrarily not equal. So that othering happens and it causes extremism. It causes certain subsects of the community to kind of wild out, react really badly, resort to violence. And look, the sense of community has been stretched and has been used as a justification for so many things, whether political, religious, I don't know.
Social, everything, yeah. Geographic. Now we're just saying words.
We're just saying. I mean, it's as small as if we make a dinner plan, sometimes like, oh, don't call them, dude. They're vegetarian. Don't waste time. It's not for them. But that's...
Shout out to all our veg friends. We love you. ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है.
No, I didn't want to get into a harder example. Just use something soft.
Like a piece of paneer. I love paneer. This is a totally different podcast.
This is not a community that you and I are a part of. The paneer lovers group.
All paneer lovers out there, hit me up, okay?
What are you going to talk about?
Paneer. Matlab, paneer. It is a lot of paneer.
Yes. There are many negative outcomes of a community. We should say that. That happens. And if you are in a community today that mandates that you think other people are not as good as you are because of differences,
bye.
Leave it.
Boy, bye. Community,
seriously.
bye.
That's not part of the human experience, and that shouldn't be the takeaway message.
Ekdam galt baat hai.
Yeah. Your community has to essentially stick on the main things is that there has to be enjoyment from it. And there has to be value added to your life in some shape or form. It doesn't have to be concrete, but it can just be a feeling, but it has to be a positive feeling. You cannot let the festering of certain negative aspects of your community cannot be allowed. It needs to be shut down immediately. You see someone making these weird racist or homophobic comments and they are big people in your community, you should, I don't know, stand up and say something. I think.
Fair.
How else are you going to change? How else is that community or that group going to evolve or adapt?
Yeah. Find the right way to say it. Find the safe way to address it. But address it.
Yeah, because if your community lacks integrity, then it's not really serving the purpose. It's not making you a better person.
Fair.
It's not adding value. That's my opinion.
But also, like, sometimes it is that thing of, like, one person may not be able to change the entire community. So then maybe that's your cue to like find a different tribe, you know?
Make a new one.
Exactly, which is such a nice thing. That's the most beautiful thing about community at large, no?
You were talking about what are the things that you should... there was like not a checklist, but a kind of mental checklist of...
What kind... Yeah, so basically when one wants to be part of a community or
right,
you feel like you need this experience in your life in another way, like actively choosing a community. So you can ask yourself a few questions that might help you figure out what you want. The first is, what are your values and what values do you want to be aligned within the community? Which goes back to what you were talking about earlier, like the shared values. And then when you feel like, oh, this isn't aligning with you or something, then you have to again like ask yourself, is this something I want to continue with or step out of or seek something else?
Yeah, because there's a difference between opinion and principle.
Yeah.
Your community can have a common opinion, but if you feel like on principle you don't align with them or you disagree, then perhaps that's not the community for you.
Fair.
Because I think your principles are a little bit more important than your opinion. Your opinion is kind of unfounded. It can change. So...
then it's how do you want to structure this community? Which is, you ask yourself, do I want to join a dance class or do I want to, whatever it is.
Is that what they mean, or do they mean structure? Like, what's the structure of the community's like hierarchy or group structure?
I think you can interpret it either way, but I am assuming that when there is a community, there is equality and hence no hierarchy.
Yeah. That's an assumption.
Fair. मतलब मैं ऐसी communities में subscribe करना चाहूँगी. That's
but
all.
There is no power structure at all.
क्या power structure? सब मिलो, सब एक दूसरे से सीखो, सब आगे बढ़ो.
हाँ. Okay.
But like the structure of it, even in terms of the logistics, for example.
So I'm like, I wasn't saying more like, oh, I want a Baba to be guiding the community. I meant more like, who's going to organize the meetings?
No, wait. So that is like a group activity.
Like, I don't have it in me to do it.
So WhatsApp groups are great, you know. They're a great tool. Or a Google Calendar. This is how we structure our community of the podcast. We have a Google Calendar and a WhatsApp group.
It's not that cool, Rytasha, to have a Google Calendar.
मेरे को बहुत cool लगता है क्योंकि मैं ना office life नहीं जीती हूँ.
Correct.
So
you like getting the invite?
I love
from
it.
Ritika?
I always say yes.
Obviously, she sends it after we've discussed it.
So yeah, you can figure out how you want to structure your community.
Okay, and the third?
And then you ask yourself, how often do you want to engage with said community? Is it something that you need on a weekly basis or a daily basis or a monthly basis or a
Can this also be whether
quarterly?
It's virtual or physically?
Physical, absolutely.
Present?
Yeah. Real or virtual, that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And a nice one is you ask yourself, what do you have to offer the group and what do you wish to receive? And how can you share and collaborate?
See, this goes back to that gain and get thing.
Yeah, which is beautiful. As like a person who is in this creative community, no, I to just love it. Because यही question मैं खुद को रोज पूछती हूँ कि like, how can we actually share and collaborate and learn and grow from each other as artists? So that way I found one nice tribe.
That's good.
Yeah. And now my last question, Ayushi, that they have is, what is the purpose and goal of creating or joining a community? What are you looking for?
So usually, if you're just talking about more generic or the more obvious communities in our lives, they mainly always have a common goal.
Right.
Or they have something that they're working towards. Or
shared experience.
Yeah, there is some shared experience is one thing, but a community usually has a goal. You know, sometimes the goal is as basic as getting more members.
Right.
Like just absorbing more members from others. Like that's why they have community events. They have festivities and also that when you celebrate and whoever does it biggest, brightest, bestest gets more membership, you know?
Yeah.
It could go the opposite way. You could go to an event and decide you no longer want to be a part of this community. Like when I went to Garba, I was like, this is not for me. And if someone is into Garba, that Gujarati is different from me. However, that's a huge aspect of that community. Is coming together for those 10 days and enjoying and, dancing and whatever.
Yeah.
And how big those events have gotten now, you can see, because it's not just Gujaratis that go to these events. It's a lot more people. Eid is no longer just about Muslims. Look at what happens to the food aspect.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
That's how they've lured us in.
Yeah,
Guys,
I'm
with Eid, you got all of this stuff.
I love
I'm like,
the food.
yes, I'm involved. With your community. I track the dates. I'm like, I know when Ramzan is. For the biryani.
I got it, Ayushi.
And I'm not mocking it or making light of either community, but it is a goal usually exists.
Yeah.
It goes back to the communities that are based on action, right? There's so many in Bombay itself. The ones that that were involved with the RA colony, that fought against the coastal road, that are constantly petitioning the High Court for various injustices that are taking place against citizens or our existing architecture, buildings, whatever it is. Those communities have altruistic goals where they are doing something for the greater good of society. Some of them are smaller, like when the buildings band together, you know that it's only for these 5 buildings that they are concerned. However, I do think communities have to have a goal. Even if you're creating a small community of yourself, have a common goal. Whether that goal is just supporting each other and creating a safe space, that's fair enough. That's your goal.
I actually want to ask you genuinely, like, what is the smallest number that can constitute a community? What is the smallest group of humans?
So see, the smallest group on WhatsApp is 3 people, right?
So we'll say 3 people. A group of 3 is the smallest unit of a community, or can we go down to a group of 2? Is that even a group?
No, I don't think 2 is not a community, it's a conversation.
Right.
Community is more than 2. It's a unit, no? Like you have to have... Yeah, what do I know? My communities are very based on very obvious generic meeting points.
Yeah, even I didn't know, no? That's why I'm asking. It's just something that I thought, like, what is the smallest?
I do want to explore different communities this year, though.
Such as?
I do want to take up more activity-based or interest-based membership into groups. So whether it's a sport or it's a workout or whether it's a writing group or an art collective, whatever it is, I do want to be more involved.
I also
because I think there's a lot to be gained. There's so much to learn.
Yeah.
Every time I meet a person that has given me a totally radical different opinion, I'm always trying to figure out what group of people he belongs to and he or she belongs to, and how I can get involved. I'm like, I think that's a really cool idea. Is there more of you? And where do you all meet?
Nice. Yeah, that's true. Even I'm into that.
I'll bring some snacks. So maybe this topic was very broad and general and we didn't get into too many funny jokes or anecdotes, but I think it's an important one.
100%. And especially like for me personally with Diwali around the corner and I'm heading back to meet my grandparents this weekend, and as long as I can remember, I've celebrated Diwali with them.
Right.
And then I remember being away for college and not getting to spend Diwali with them. And this, for me, this sense of community with the family is a... And
yes, it's very strong. And this sense of community at this time of year, I do feel is very strong.
Yeah.
World over. Yeah. People are, whether it's
a lot
West,
of festivals.
Europe, wherever it is, Asia.
Oktoberfest, for example, is on, That's also a community.
So I'd say get involved with the community, find something that works for you.
Yeah, and ask yourself what is it that you want to get and what is it that you can offer. And I think being in a community is the best way to grow and also it's the best way to practice tolerance.
Oh yeah. People talk about being tolerant to each other and different ideas and all, but it's never really tested till you're part of a group where everyone has different ideas.
Literally, yeah.
So if you talk about these non-generic communities, like not your religion and community faith-based ones, I'm talking about the ones where it's like a writing group or a running group. You're going to be exposed to people from different walks of life in terms of age, class, background, story, whatever it is. You're going to have to learn to be tolerant because your group has a common goal. We all got to run the marathon and we have to do it together. So I think that's very important, is the goal of the community should trump your intolerance of certain ideals.
Nice.
Right?
I like it. Practice tolerance and grow. It's nice.
Correct.
और कुछ बोलना है हमें?
Not for now, really. I liked this. I liked reading about this. I think do some research, read into it more. There was a lot of interesting material out there in the values of community.
And in that feeling aspect, I want to add that even the word community sometimes, because I view it from a lovely, beautiful kind of lens, it feels like a warm hug inside my body.
You know, can I say one thing? I know we're running a little bit long today. There was a study that was done on 18th century Dutch societies. And they said that religion, it's not just about God. The creation of religion and the acts of religion, of praying, coming together, supporting, and having that community around you, while it was based around God, whatever that shape of the God is, it was not so much about the religion as much as it was about supporting the society around you and making sure that everyone was invested in the growth of everyone around them. So when you had a natural disaster, a natural calamity, these were kind of the main parts of the study that they focused the study on, is that when you had these things, coming together and praying and worshipping was not about the deity, but it was more about the fact that, look, everyone's coming together and is aware that these are the members of society that have really suffered and struggled through this. So we are all going to help them because that's what God wants. Now, it's a different thing that people use the guise of God to get us to do good things. And that's something I think we'll explore more when we talk about faith as this baby adult phase of ours. But I think it's interesting that we should be doing these things because we care about the community that we're in. There's no that higher power should not affect your acts towards each other in that community.
You mustn't do it out of fear or
obligation.
Yeah.
And it's just funny that it was this, you told people you're doing it for God, but actually what you did was to each other.
Yeah.
So that thing of treating each other as a guest or a god, it's kind of important.
Ayushi, you are a goddess to me.
You didn't get me any snacks.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I'll buy you something right now.
Anyway, everyone, we should
wrap it up. To always watering each other and to always growing together.
ठीक है.
And thank you for listening to our episode today.
Thanks for being part of our community.
Yes, beautiful community of Agla Station Adulthood listeners. And if you liked this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or ivmpodcasts.com. Also, you can follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
And if you would like to follow us individually, I am at Just Ayushi on Twitter and at AyushiA9 on Instagram.
And myself at Rytash, Rytash on Instagram.
Okay, everyone.
Happy festive season and happy love and community vibes. Good vibes only.
Yes. Okay, bye.
How many times have you caught yourself Googling stuff on health and wondering if it's the right information? How many times have you heard different health experts give opposing views, which has only left you confused? There are rising cases of cancer, heart, diabetes, stress, and autoimmune diseases. Meet the patients and the experts who paved the path of true healing. Join me, Rachna Chachi, cancer nutrition coach and nutritional therapist on Heal and Hearty. I take you through my own journey of recovery from an incurable disease and the journey of so many others who healed only via nutrition and holistic healing. Find the answers you seek for what's good for your health and what's good for your soul. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. Don't forget your date with good health.
नमस्ते, मैं हूँ सौरभ चंद्रा
और मैं प्रणय कुटस्थाने।
जब महफिल खत्म होते होते दरवाजे के बाहर पुलिया के ऊपर हम दुनिया भर की जटिल समस्याओं को सॉल्व करने में लग जाते हैं तो हो जाती है पुलियाबाजी।
अब आजकल के अपार्टमेंट वालों ने तो कभी पुलिया देखी नहीं होगी, पर आप फीलिंग तो समझ ही सकते हैं।
तो आइए शामिल हो जाइए हमारी पुलियाबाजी में, जहां प्रणय और मैं एक से एक इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक्स की तह तक जाएंगे।
आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, बिटकॉइन, पाकिस्तान, मेडिकल एजुकेशन, करेंसी क्राइसिस, कभी हम दोनों के साथ और अक्सर स्पेशल एक्सपर्ट गेस्ट की कंपनी में।
सुनिए हमें IVM की वेबसाइट, ऐप या अपने फेवरेट पॉडकास्टिंग प्लेटफॉर्म पर हर दूसरे हफ्ते।